Hello friends, welcome to another video. This is part three of video to show total. In part one, we saw that the total based on the product category was also always shown. In part two, we did where the user has the option to select the total from the slicer, and if he selects the total, then it shows the total. Otherwise, it does not show the total. But there were a few discrepancies in that part 2 video which we will fix in this particular video, and also enhance that in this part 3 video about show total or not to show total. Let's get to Power BI and look at it. So again, this one was what we saw yesterday, where user has the option to select the total in the slicer. So in this case, user selected 4 categories and then selected the total, and the blue line is showing the total. So if I unselect total, so the total disappears, and just based on the categories we select, the total shows only the sum of those selected categories. Now, the one of the issue with this solution is, if I unselect categories, then the total is just a blank, and because the total is we haven't selected any category, and that's why the total is showing blank. Now this could be one of the use case where you say, okay, you know what, if the categories are not selected, don't want to see the total. Or maybe the other argument could be, okay, you know what, if nothing is selected, then show the total of all the categories. So let's first do that, and then see what we need to do to tweak the measure, and then we will look into another use case which I will explain later in the video. So let's first fix this. So what we're going to do is, if only total is selected, then show the sum of all the categories, because even they are assume those are selected, and but otherwise, if we select some categories, the behavior should be just the way it is right now. So let's see how we can do that. So the measure which we used yesterday was sales by category and optional total. So we will use that one. So let's see what quickly recap what we're doing in here. Is what we did is we saw, okay, in the legend, if the product category is total, and then sum all the selected product category slicer. Again, the disconnected table is the one which we use on the slicer, and we said, okay, get all the values from the product category and apply that on the product category table, and this is what the total was doing. Rest, this was all fine. We remember, we don't need a keep filters. We were tested that in the last video. So basically what we need to do is, we need to change the behavior in this part of the code when there is a total. So how we do that? So since we are here, we know that we are looking at in the row context, we're looking at the total. So what we need to do, so what we're doing here is all selected product category slicer. So at this point of time, if we look at this code right now, there is only the total category is selected. Total is a part of the category. We appended that as in a row, but none of the other categories are sliced and selected. That's why the product category table is not getting filtered on, because none of the categories are selected here. To do that, what we need to do here is, first this behavior is fine. What we need to do is, let's store something in the variable here. Let's see count of categories selected. So what we can do is calculate. Let's find out how many categories are selected right now. So that will be count rows, product category slicer, and the product category. Why we're using product category slicer? Because this is the one which we are using on the slicer. Product category slicer, and all selected product category slicer. So what we're doing is finding out, okay, depending on all select, why we're doing all select, we're saying, okay, number of all the selection we have done so far, just give me the count of those. So since we are in the total section, it means if there is only one row selected, which will be the total, then that means only the total is selected at this point in time. So what we can do is, if should be returned if count of categories selected is equal to 1. So it means only total is selected. Again, just to make sure, first we're checking, are we in the legend, in the total, we're looking at the total row contacts. If yes, then we're saying, okay, how many categories are selected, including total? And this will give us all the selected categories. It means if only one is selected, it means the total is selected, no other category is selected. And now here we can put our own logic and what that logic will be. So if only one category is selected, it means then our calculation will be calculate sales and then all selected sales table. So whatever the sales table is, our fact table, just give us the sales of that. Otherwise, just our regular calculate function which we used yesterday. So there's no for change required in that. So basically this part of the code we are adding to find out if there is any how many categories are selected. Now one thing we need to do here is we need to apply the keep filters because we are looking at the month level. So we want to make sure the row context of the month is being passed to the is kept in the when we're using all selected. So let's minimize this. I'm not sure why I'm getting this error here, but let's try to run it. Oh, this should be product category because I'm using count rows, so I should not have the column. So okay, I should do it. All right, so if we run it, so if we use this Maya now, so here you go. What we're seeing here is we have only selected total, and then we are seeing the total of all the categories. So, but if we select other categories, and then we are seeing those other categories, and then only seeing the sum of those selected categories. If I turn off the total, I don't see the total. Again, if we go the total, then we see the total. And if we don't select any category, it means it is assuming this is that all the categories are selected, and then we are seeing the total of all the selected categories. It's pretty much the same behavior as selected all. If I click on total, so only the total is shown, otherwise it will show all the categories. So this is now working as expected. Just quickly go back to the measure. What we did is in the total section, first we find out, are we looking at the total and in the row context? If yes, then we are finding how many rows are, how many categories are selected. And if that count is 1, it means only total is selected. And then we are, whatever the all selected sales, we are picking all the data from the all selected sales. And the reason why we're using all selected, because maybe we are filtering our sales table on a product or a year or a customer. So we want to make sure those slices are still applied on the sales table. So we are taking the all selected sales, and then on top of that we do the keep filter. So we want to keep the filter which is coming on the reason if I don't keep the filter, this line would be flattened, because then the filter from the month at the on the x-axis will not be passed to the measure. Let me actually show you guys. If I just quickly remove the keep filters, and so if I remove these categories, see then now total line is just a flat. The reason why it is flat, because the keep filter is forcing the row contacts filter to be passed to the filter contact. So that's why we need to make sure. Otherwise, all selected means it's giving the same value for each month what we are seeing on the x-axis. So again, this is an example of why and when to use the key filters. And so here you go. So now we see the total. We can turn it off, then we will see all the categories and also the total. But if we really only want to see the total, we can choose that. And if we select 2 or 3 categories, and we are seeing the total of those categories. I hope you found this 3-part series useful and learned few DAX tricks, keep filters, how all selected and disconnected table work. Let me know what you guys think. Until next video, have a great day. Do subscribe my channel. Thanks for watching. Thank you. Bye for now.